We're talking about Danny Raskin, and on March 27th, 1942, Danny Raskin joined the Detroit Jewish News, the very first issue ever printed. And here we are, the Detroit Jewish News and Danny Raskin, almost 75 years later, still linked at the hip, still serving the Jewish community and the general community. You joined the Jewish News in 1942.
Right.
And what you said in the 50th anniversary issue was you took the job part-time because you didn't think the paper was ever going to succeed.
Well, we already had one. We had the Jewish Chronicle then.
Yeah.
So I couldn't foresee two Jewish papers.
Right. So what was it that made you at that point say, even though you couldn't foresee two Jewish papers, that you would take a chance on this one?
Well, when Phil Salmovich called me, I told him over the phone that if I came, I would write for him, but I would never be able to go because of the other paper. And I didn't want to tell him, I didn't want to make him feel bad and say that I don't think this is going to last long, because there wasn't room for two papers.
Right. So here we are almost 75 years later.
Right.
Would you admit that maybe you were incorrect?
I sure was incorrect. Oh, was I?
What happened? What do you think made it where the Jewish News became the primary or the dominant newspaper compared to the Chronicle, which had been around since 1916? And Phil Salmovich, if I recall, was the editor of it at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It had more substance to it. The Chronicle didn't seem to have some of the things that the young people wanted. This one does.
There was a story where some urban archaeologists at Wayne State University were digging up an old haunt that they believed belonged to the Purple Gang. And you told a story about having a banana cream pie with some purples at Cream of Michigan. And a little boy came running in crying because a couple of toughs were trying to do something, trying to harm his sister.
Right.
And she ran away, and they called this little boy who came running in a dirty Jew. What happened then?
Well, the boys got up and
How
walked.
many boys?
Huh?
How many boys do you remember?
I was sitting with two boys from the Purple Gang, yeah. And the kid came in and told them the story, and we walked out, and they told me to come along. I was just, what was I, about 15 years old, probably. So I went, and then they went around, and they seemed to know a little bit because these boys had been there before, and one of them took a gun out, and the fellow they put it in his mouth. He said, and the guy turned white. Well, it was white and white. And they clicked the trigger. I said, the next time you come around 12th Street, there's going to be a bullet in there. The guy ran. They came back and they ate their pie.
12th and Claremont was also known for something else. That is the epicenter of where in July of 1967, the Detroit riots, the Detroit uprising.
The Alamo was there.
Yeah. Do you recall where you were or who you were with even, or what kind of thoughts maybe were going through your mind?
God, there were so many thoughts. But see, I know a lot of the people that were in the riot. And I know quite a few of them.
Were they?
They were nice people, nice guys. I mean, so many of them. I mean, not the ones that did the plundering, but the people that were involved or they would come there, and I knew so many of them. Wonderful people. Just I couldn't believe what was happening. I really couldn't. I don't know what happened to them. They just went berserk. See? Then after it was all over, maybe just a few days afterward, it's as if nothing had happened.